Hello, hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is your girl Mitzi, and this is Mitzi. Let's think about it. Today we are thinking about goal achievements, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, this is a thinker because we need to think about our goals and achieving them. So thankfully, I have Mike here who's going to help me think about this and help us all think about this. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, goodness, tongue tie, for coming on my show. When you hear
Yeah.
the words goal achievements, what does that make you think about?
So if you're asking me,
Yeah.
I think which I'm the one on here, right? So of course you're asking
Yeah,
me. Yeah.
just you. If you have goals, none of them. I don't want their opinion, just you.
So what always gets me is, man, I've been fascinated with goal achievement literally since I was about 12, 13 years old, just obsessed with it. But most people, what I've learned, especially as we get older, they don't think about goal achievement. They think about goal setting. That's what corporate America has told us. You've got to set goals. You've got to set goals, but nobody really thinks about goal achievement. And
Mm.
there's a huge difference. I think people don't understand this either. There's a huge difference in reaching your goal and achieving your goal. Completely different things. So I'm excited to be here today. Thank you for inviting me, and I am ready to dive in.
Perfect. You know, that is a great point that you just brought up about the difference between reaching and actually achieving. And people don't realize that reaching is a different word and different meaning from achieving. And I
Yes.
didn't I didn't think about it until you said it. And then you made me really think about it because once you said reach your goals, like that's it, you're reaching for it, but you don't actually achieve it and you strive for it and then you give up and then there's doubt and then there's fear and then you're sad and there's all these expectations that you know what I mean, and I just realized like we are just reaching for our goals. And then you said there's a difference between settings and achievement, and you're right, there is. You can set all these goals. Like I literally have a whole thing, a notebook full of goals that I want.
Sure.
Am I actually gonna reach and achieve them? I don't know. Maybe not.
Hopefully, yeah, right.
Hopefully, yeah, but that's the
Yes.
point. You don't know the difference. So I guess I have to ask you then, how do you actually achieve your goals?
Oh my goodness. So how long do we have on this podcast? Because
Talk to
this
me.
this is a keynote presentation. This is a breakout session I do all over the country. I'm so passionate about it. But first, I want to talk about something really quick because some of your listeners they may be thinking, well, wait a minute. What is actually the difference in reaching and achieving? And so, and everybody's definition will be a little bit different.
Yeah.
But here's the example that I normally give. Whether we do it ourselves or not, we probably know somebody that smokes. Okay, and I'm not no judgment, but I know a lot of people they want to give that up for once and for all.
Yeah.
And so I always ask people, even if it's not you, if you know somebody, how many times have they quit smoking? And I guarantee you, most everybody has quit numerous times, and they'll quit for a week, 2 weeks, maybe a month, sometimes years. But what happens? Then they go back to smoking again. So they reached their goal numerous times, but their overall achievement was to be smoke free for the rest of their life. So they've went all the way up to it. They've achieved or reached the goal, but they didn't quite achieve it. And so what I want to help people do is really achieve their goals, their lifelong dreams, whatever it may be, whether it's to stop smoking, to lose weight, to quit fingernail biting, or to make more money at work. That is what I do. And what I found working with hundreds of people, I would love to say thousands. I don't think that would be correct.
It's okay.
People over exaggerate numbers all the time.
Aspire, just say millions. Go ahead.
Yes,
I'll accept
millions
it.
of people, millions of people. No, people over exaggerate the numbers. So I've been working with people since 2001. And then a little bit of my background, I've done neurolinguistics programming, space repetition, emotional intelligence, and the one that sticks out to most people, hypnosis.
Mhm.
That's the one that always gets the results because they think it's the easy button. You see the little swinging pocket watch, and all of a
Yeah.
sudden, chocolate cake tastes like cow crap or something, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't work that way. It's not an easy button. It's just a tool, but that
Mhm.
stands out. But I've been working with people, and what I've learned is I took everybody that I worked with, all my notes, and I compiled it because I love looking for patterns. And so
Mhm.
what I noticed was it's a lot like making a cake. There's certain things that everybody does that achieves their goals, whether they know they're
Mhm.
doing it or not.
Okay.
Now, there may be a few other things they gotta sprinkle in, kinda like making a cake, right? If you're gonna make a cake, you gotta have your eggs, your flour, your oil, etcetera.
Mhm,
That's your
mhm.
base, that's your foundation. But if you wanna make a chocolate cake, you just kinda add a little chocolate sprinkles or whatever it may be, and the same thing applies to achieving your goals, and there's 4 things you have to do. So in my book, it's called Beyond Smart. I'm sure you and your listeners have all heard of setting SMART goals, right?
Yeah,
Specific, measurable, attainable,
yeah,
relevant, and timely. But the problem is, if all you do is set a goal, you're not going to get very far
yeah.
because you got to put everything into action. And so that's what the book is about. That's what I call the GOAT method of success. It's the 4 things you have to do if you want to have lasting change, no matter what it is.
Okay, perfect. So, would you like to tell me what those 4 things are?
For a nominal fee, you can buy my book and you can learn
Oh,
all the things. No, 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 no.
I
Of
thought
course.
I had them, ladies and gentlemen, but I didn't.
Yes, let's talk about it. I want to give your audience value, and that's the most important thing. So, we will go through them, of course, probably not in great detail, but they'll
Yeah, you
get
could
the
do, like, a quick
gist.
snapshot, yeah.
They're gonna get the gist, and feel free to stop me at any point. So,
Mhm.
for your listeners, if I was gonna write something down, I would write down the letters or the word GOAT, GOAT, GOAT. Now, the G stands for you've got to get specific. Okay. So, get specific is what that means. Now, this sounds like a SMART goal already, right? The S in SMART goal is get specific. But there's 6 things you've got to get specific on. This is where SMART goals kind of leaves off. Number 1, you've got to get specific on what your goal is.
Yeah.
A lot of people that come to me say, I want to lose some weight. I want to
Mhm,
make more money. That's not
mhm.
specific. The
Yeah.
way the brain works, we're already wired to achieve our goals, believe it or not. The problem is our brain is very lazy. And
Yeah.
so as soon as it thinks we've achieved it, it checks that off and goes to the next thing. So if we
Mm.
say, well, I'd like to lose some weight, as soon as you lose a pound, half a pound, whatever, your mind literally says, well, we're done. We did what the mind told us, so we're checking out.
Yes.
We've gotta be specific, and so if it's financial,
Yes.
how much more money do you want? Then you can develop a plan from it, but you've gotta be as specific as possible, and I tell people, especially with weight loss, I say, "Listen, let's look out into the future a year, 5 years, however far you wanna go out,
Uh,
and I want you to even tell me what you look like, what you weigh, who's standing with you, what are you wearing?" I mean, I wanna make paint this picture as
mhm,
vivid as possible.
mhm.
Because here's a secret. Now, if I was gonna write something down, if they only get one thing out of this whole presentation, this is what I want people to take from this, okay? This is the secret to hypnosis, okay? So I'm giving you the good stuff right off the bat. I, I'm
Okay.
like the I'm like the guy in the food court, I'm giving you the filet mignon as you walk by.
Yeah,
Okay, so we speak with words,
correct,
but we think in pictures.
correct.
So, if we want to change something in our life, all we've got to do is change the picture. And that's why it's so important to be specific so you can paint that vivid picture in your mind.
Yes.
So, that's
I
just,
see
oh,
I
go
see
ahead.
that. I see what you're saying there, and it makes perfect sense. You gotta make the you gotta make it specific so that it can seem very much more achievable when you're precise. You know what I mean? Because you have a
Yeah,
goal, like, okay, I want to eat, but then what do you really want to eat? You know what I mean? It's the same thing. Like you have to be very precise because you know what you really want to eat, but you don't want to say it. So just say it. You know
yeah,
what you want to eat. So it's like the same with size. I want to be a certain size. I want to lose a certain weight. It's the same concept, and it's funny, I was laughing when you said and I know you were looking at me all crazy, like, "Why is she laughing?" Because it's funny to me because I have that problem where my mind literally says, "Oh, you did it, it's done, check it off of your list, we're good." So I can walk 10 minutes and be like, "Okay, I'm done for the day," but in reality, I have to push myself because I
yeah,
know I need to walk more. So
sure.
I think it also comes down to that comfort where people are afraid of leaving that comfort zone
Hmm.
as well because they're so comfortable, you know what I mean? And I
Absolutely.
also think that there's high expectations, you know what I mean? Because especially when you said earlier, like, oh, I want to make money. Okay, well, how much more money do you want to make? $1 million a year?
Right.
You know what I mean? Because that's a high expectation. What are you gonna
Sure.
do for that? You know, That's a real realistic concept to just think about. So do you believe that celebrating the small milestones are important?
Absolutely. It's one of the ways we stay motivated. I mean, think about this. So I'm real big into martial arts. I've done martial
Okay.
arts my entire life. Now, everybody, most people, they want their black belt, right? They think that's
Mhm.
like the holy grail, which it isn't. But that's what they think. They're like, I got to get my black belt. But what do? You don't start out, and then the very next thing you get's a black belt. Not
Yeah.
by a long shot, because it's going to take years and years and years to achieve that, depending on the style and different things. The first thing you're going to do is you get your white belt typically when you start, but then for most styles, the first belt you're going to get is your yellow belt. And that keeps you motivated. So your goal then becomes not the black belt, it's just to make it to the next level. That's your
Yeah.
goal the whole time. So I've got a lot of friends that are in special forces and across the board, super guys. And I love picking their brains on things. And I said, when you was going to like special forces training, I said, "What's that like?" I mean, it's, 8 weeks or 16 weeks or whatever, depending on what they're going into. And they say, "Listen, you're not trying to make it to the end. Don't do that. Those people will fail every time. If they say, "Well, we've got 16 weeks," they will fail every time. He said, "I'm trying to make it because we get up like at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, sometimes at midnight. I mean, it's just crazy,
Wow.
right? And it has to be." He said, "But what we do, we're just trying to make it to breakfast." He said, once we make it to breakfast, we're just trying to make it to lunch. He said, it's always just that next little bit. So having these goals and breaking it down in neurolinguistics programming, it's called down chunking, and it's just smaller goals. And it's critical. If you don't do that, you will get frustrated with a big goal. Now, and I'm getting off topic here, but it's so easy to do.
No such
Uh,
thing. No such thing on my
no
show.
such
Shame
thing.
on you.
Yes, yes, yes. Um, but what a lot of people will do is, they in SMART goals. Let me say it this way: in a SMART goal, it says specific, measurable, and attainable. Okay, I hate that word attainable. I hate that when it comes
Mhm.
to goal setting. It just kills me, and here's why. Because if I tell you you've got to set a reasonable or an attainable goal, you will always sell yourself short.
It's very true.
Les Brown says it best. People don't
Valid.
fail at reaching their goals because they aim too high and miss. It's because they aim too low and they hit. And so
True.
when somebody says attainable, you're not setting your expectations high enough. Let me give you another example. Now, my time frame may be off. I think this is correct. What was significant about December 16th, 1903?
I don't know.
Yeah, and this isn't taught in
Mm.
the schools, by the way, okay? But it is extremely significant. December 16th, 1903, I believe that's the date. I'll double check. The entire world thought it was impossible to fly.
Oh,
What happened on December 17th, 1903?
I'm assuming they flew.
The Wright brothers took the first flight. And so when we set our goals and say, well, we're only going to do things that are achievable, listen, if the Wright brothers would have done that, we wouldn't be flying today. So it's not about having a goal that's achievable. You need to shoot for the moon on that.
Yeah.
Now, there's another saying, if you hear motivational speakers, it's a great, shoot for the moon, and if you fall short, you'll land amongst the stars. I don't know if you've ever heard
Mm.
that. It's really,
It's
I
a
like to
corny
say, shoot.
one.
Yeah, yeah, it's a corny one. So I like to change it up and say, listen, shoot for the moon, and if you fail, you're going to land on Uranus, right? I mean, don't be afraid to fall flat. It's okay.
Yeah.
Now, what's important though is the steps to get there need to be achievable.
Yeah.
They need to be achievable. So in the Wright brothers, think about it. Was it achievable for them to get some wood and maybe some material? Yeah, that's achievable. Was it achievable for them to start to structure wings and maybe modify it after a? Yeah, that's achievable. But in their mind, flying wasn't. But the steps to get there was. And so here's
Yeah.
another thing that if I was a listener, I'd write down because this will change your entire life if you do it. Don't Too many people fail because they focus on the outcome instead of the process. And so the
Mhm.
three words that I would write down is learn to enjoy the ride. If you can learn to enjoy the process, so if you're wanting to lose weight, find things that will help get you there that you enjoy. So I love to play basketball. I'm 43. I'm the old man on the court now, but I still love it. And all these young high schoolers are playing all around me. But you got to learn to enjoy the process. Maybe you don't like
Yeah.
to jog. Maybe you don't want to do an aerobics class. Fair enough. But do you enjoy swimming? Do you enjoy ballroom dancing, which I love to do that as well? Enjoy the process. Forget about the outcome. Find the things that are going to get you there, help to get you there, and then enjoy that. If you
Yeah.
do that, the outcome will happen.
That's
But it's so
interesting.
important going back to you've got to get specific about what your goal is first.
That's very true. Do you think gratitude helps you
Absolutely.
achieve that goal, those small goals and those milestones, as well as just embracing the moment that you're in? Because I feel like sometimes we're just reaching and reaching and reaching and thriving for the future, thinking of the future so much that we can't even bask in the ambience of just the moment of just realizing like I actually lost 10 pounds, or I actually was able to walk 5 miles without having a hard time breathing, or I
Right.
was able to just wear these pants that didn't snug too tight, or I was able to
Right.
move a certain way and hit a kick or do something, you know what I mean? Like, do you think gratitude helps?
Absolutely. I think one thing that kills most people's dreams is when they start to compare themselves to other people.
Yeah.
And so when we start comparing ourselves, we have to understand. Now, I don't know people's religious beliefs on here. I'm a Christian, but I love everybody. Understand that.
Mhm.
But here's the thing: I truly believe, no matter what your belief system is, we are all here for a purpose.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, even existing are 400 trillion to 1. So you can't tell me that's an accident. 400 trillion,
Yeah.
that's 13 zeros, okay? That's crazy. 400
Yeah.
trillion. So everybody's has a purpose, and everybody's mission or purpose in life is different, and their
Mhm.
path is going to be different. So we look at somebody and they start losing more weight than us, and we start comparing ourselves. Well, why are they losing more weight than me? Well, their body's different, their family history is different, the activities they do is different, their culture is different, their foods. I mean, everything's different. We can't compare ourselves. We need to be thankful for what we've got, and once we do that, we kind of forget about the rest. And so, celebrating those small victories and really appreciating where we're at. Now, I hate to mow my yard. I hate mowing my yard. Actually, I enjoy it now, but I used to hate mowing my yard. I had a zero turn mower. And one day, now my yard's not that big, by the way. I mean, I can
Mm.
knock it out in like 15 minutes with a zero turn mower. But I
Okay.
got rid of my zero turn mower because I thought, you know what? This is physical activity that I could be getting, and I could put my headset on, I can listen to a podcast, Mitzi's podcast here, I can be listening to that, rocking it, and I can be doing other things while I'm push mowing, so I'm getting physical activity, and I'm
Mhm.
listening to something educational that I'm learning from. It's a win-win for me, and I need to stop and think about how thankful I should be that I'm capable of being able to mow my yard. I
Yeah.
mean, I know a lot of people, they're confined to a wheelchair. They would love to have the problems I have. Yeah, it's
Mm.
kinda like, uh, you know, we have to stop and think, 5 years ago, we're in the position that we were dreaming about then. And so we need to
Exactly.
look at that and really take that in and appreciate where we're at. So no, thank you for bringing that up. But gratitude, and I really believe what Tony Robbins and Oprah and Richard Branson, all of them say: wake up in the morning and write 5 things down that you're grateful for. It doesn't have to be the same 5 things every day, but it can be. That's okay, but that sets your mind up for success, because now you're always going to find what you're looking for. And if you start your day by being thankful and grateful for things, guess what? The rest of your day, you've set the tone for that. And now you're going to start looking for things to be grateful for. Matter of fact, I've got a Facebook group. It's Made for Success Morning Early something or another. I can send you a link. But every morning between 6 and 6:05 for the last 2 years, every morning I throw up a motivational quote, because I think it's so important for people to start their day not with something negative, but with something positive. And when you do that, that
Mhm.
just sets the tone. So I'm rambling. I apologize. You
No,
probably got other
no, no,
questions.
you're fine, you're fine.
I,
I think everything at some point it all comes together, so I don't really believe that people go off of a tangent or go off rambling because it it ties in some way somehow. We just feel like we're
Sure.
rambling because we forget our point, but we get so passionate into our conversation that it just comes out, it just oozes right out of us. So I absolutely understand, and I think it's very important also how you talked about consistency, and self-discipline. You said it in different words, but that's basically how I summed it up, because
Yeah.
people don't realize that self-discipline and consistency is a really big key, along with gratitude, to even achieve your goals. So when did it come real for you, Mike? When did it become real
Ooh.
for you that you needed to get this reality check, have a VA, I need to achieve my goals moment? When was that for you?
Ooh, so again, I've been obsessed with goal achievement, most of my life.
You
My
can't be
mother
3 years old and, like,
You're right, right,
motivated for
right.
goal achievement.
Yes, yes. When I was 3 years old, man, I was ready to get out of those diapers, and that was my goal. No, no,
Potty training, here I come.
no more pull-ups for me. Uh, no, so for me, it really was. I was either 12 or 13, I can't remember. My mom
Okay.
was a smoker, in
Oh,
the
okay.
'80s, and she smoked, and like many people, she tried to quit and would quit for a few weeks, then come back and forth, and she did that so many times that eventually she actually did quit, but I never realized it, and that sounds weird, but I didn't realize it until I went to college.
Huh,
My psychology professor gave us the assignment over Christmas break, go home and to interview somebody that has achieved their goal or overcome something and just ask them how they did it. So it was in that moment that I realized mom quit smoking and I was going to interview her.
yeah.
So I did. I'm like, how did you do this? And she goes through her story. And she said basically what it boiled down to was that my father, my dad, he told her, I bet you can never quit. And that was it. She tried the gum, she tried the patch, she put a rubber band around her wrist and slapped it every time. Nothing worked, but because of her stubbornness, and wanting to beat my dad, she quit. And I thought, there's something to this though. And so I
Right.
started studying, like I said, neurolinguistics program and I mean, anything leadership. And because I wanted to figure it out, I wanted the secret sauce, and there's really no secret to it. There's no secret to
Okay.
success. You're not going to wake up and be walking across your yard one day and slip and trip and fall into a big pile of success. Okay, it's not going to happen. You may
Yeah.
fall into a pile of something, but it's not going to be success.
Exactly.
But there is a process, and that's what I learned. And so ever since then, this has been my mission, my passion. I have done other things and was doing this part time until 2013. That's when I kicked it into gear and I said, you know what? This needs to be taught to businesses, organizations, corporations, individuals, whoever wants to achieve their goal. And then I've got a language pattern with the hypnosis stuff that I teach salespeople as well. But it's so powerful, and people need to hear this because I'm tired of seeing people not achieve their goals and to settle. I
Yeah.
hate it when somebody just settles and they get comfortable because life is much more than just settling. Because if you just settle, you're not going to reach your purpose. You're not going to have a passion, and by doing that, you're cheating everybody else. Our playing small doesn't benefit the world,
Mm.
and
That's
so
amazing.
yeah,
I think that's a great point. I mean, I think that's a funny point about your mom and how she was so stubborn and her pride got to her. I was like, "Oh yeah, you think I can't do it? Psh, watch me." And then she did
yeah,
it. And it's funny because some people, that's how they do quit certain bad habits.
yeah,
And
yeah.
that is an interesting way to just get into this and dive deeper in and try to figure out what's the secret sauce. How does this really happen? And you even got to the point of hypnosis. Like, I've spoken with a few people who do hypnosis, and I really
Mhm.
think it's an interesting concept. It really is. It
It
is
is.
very interesting. Like, people don't realize the juicy details that goes into it, but if you really dabble into it, it is pretty interesting that we don't even realize we get hypnotized just doing common things. You know what I mean? Like,
Absolutely.
driving, especially, like, sometimes
Yes.
people don't realize that. Like, driving, I'm driving in a car. You would think that you'd be consciously aware, but no, you
Oh,
can
no.
that's the biggest time where you can get hypnotized, and
Yeah.
I've experienced that because 'cause I've done road trips from, like,
Sure,
Wisconsin to Florida, Wisconsin to New
sure.
York, Wisconsin to Texas, you know what I mean? Those are, like, days of driving? So
Oh, yeah.
I know for a fact that that's a real thing because I've experienced it.
Absolutely.
So
Well, and the thing with hypnosis too, and didn't mean to cut you off, I apologize.
you're
The thing with
good.
hypnosis, there's a lot of misconceptions about what it is and isn't. Um,
Mhm.
depending who you talk to, some hypnotists, I'm not saying all of them, but some hypnotists, they kind of have this God complex, like they can control and manipulate and all this. And that's just simply not true.
Yeah.
Hypnosis is a tool, and it's a
Mhm.
way to help people typically visualize. Now, there's other techniques as well, but predominantly visualize what they want to achieve. And driving, we're on a subconscious level 70% of the day or more. So you mentioned driving, and I love that. Think about this. You drive home from work, you drive to work, whatever it may be, but usually you're zoned out. You're not paying
Yeah.
attention. You don't remember most of your trip. Matter of fact, you'd probably even go, "Wow, was that light red back there when I drove through it? Did I even stop at that stop?" Right? I mean, that people experience this all the time. This is
Yep.
why people miss their exit when somebody chopped down a tree
Yeah.
or, because it didn't cue their subconscious mind. They're literally like a robot in that moment, and that's okay.
Mhm.
That's the subconscious mind. If we were conscious the entire time about every little detail, we literally would go insane. Um, well, I mean, seriously, think about this. You have to think about holding your hands on the steering wheel a certain way. What's the temperature in the car? What am I hearing on the radio? What am I hearing
Yes.
outside? Pressing the gas, the brake. I mean, every little detail. It would drive you nuts.
Yeah.
And so, with hypnosis, again, just being a tool, but it's a way to help people picture the goal that they want. And we do. We experience it all the time. We use it all the time. Another word for it is visualization,
Mhm.
meditation, dependent on your religious beliefs, and in some sorts prayer can be a form of hypnosis, but we don't like that because we think hypnosis is of the devil, right? It's not. We use it all the time, but television, radio shows, they have kind of made it out to be this evil thing, and it's really not an evil thing. Yoga can be, it's all about breathing and focusing. It's all that it is. So when
Yeah.
somebody experiences hypnosis, they're learning how to control their conscious and subconscious mind even better than before.
That's a valid point. I'm glad you brought that up because I think people need to start thinking about that as well in a different format so that when it's brought up to their attention as a possibility of a form of therapy or a form
Sure.
of assistance of any form, then I think that should be like, oh, maybe I should consider it. So that's a great point. Thank you for bringing that up. So I know we got to start wrapping up the show because
Oh, already, wow.
I know time is,
M
it flies
man,
by. It's so sad,
gosh,
but what could be some lasting words of wisdom that you can leave us off with? Even though, let's be honest, you give us a lot of great points this whole
man.
conversation, but what can be some lasting words?
Okay, so I probably got less than a minute, and I feel that people are gonna be cheated. They're like, "Okay, we wrote down this word goat, and you only give us one deal of
I
6
know.
things out of get specific," right?
Now you gotta buy the book. Excuse me,
Now you
buy
gotta
the
buy the
book.
book. That's it. Beyond Smart on Amazon. No, okay, so I wanna run through this really, really quick. Get specific. 6 things. You gotta write down your goal. You gotta be specific on that, why it's important to you, what skills and knowledge that you're gonna need, what people you need in your life, what obstacles you're gonna face, and what actions that need to be taken. That's all under Get Specific. The O stands for you gotta be open-minded. You gotta understand things aren't gonna work out the way that maybe you originally planned. That's okay. You have to be willing to adapt to those. The A is action steps, the 80-20 rule. What things can you do that's going to give you 80% of your results? Focus on the things that work and less of the things that don't, basically. And lastly, which is my favorite, not necessarily the most important, is the way we talk, language patterns.
Hmm.
Bring me back on. I can do a whole series on just that because it's so important. Because again, we speak with words, but we think in pictures. How do we change the picture? By the words that we use. So if we tell
Mhm.
ourselves we can't do something, we're not fit enough, we're too ugly, we're too old, too young, whatever it may be, language is important. Not only what we say to other people, but what we internalize and say to ourselves. So I
Mhm.
want to leave you with just shoot for the moon. Don't be afraid of failure. Failure is part of the process. Matter of fact, the only way you fail is when you stop or you quit. That's the only time you'll ever fail. Failure is an event, it's not a person.
Exactly.
Nothing good has
Exactly.
ever come into this world or been invented and they got it right the first time. I mean, look at our cell phones, right? What cell phone are we on now? Like the A2600 or something, They keep
Mhm.
improving it. So, the words of wisdom I want to leave you with. This has helped me probably more than anything when it comes to goal achievement. Is we have to realize it's not about being perfect. and to internalize I'm a work in progress. So every day, whether I choose to eat that cookie or not, I'm a work in progress. And that's given me permission to make mistakes because I don't have to be perfect now. I'm a work
Yeah,
in progress. And every day I'm trying to get better and better.
there you
So that's
go.
what I want to leave your audience with.
I like it. I like it a lot.
Awesome.
You can't go wrong. I know I'm gonna have to bring you back. I'm gonna have to.
Oh,
No,
please
no,
do.
no doubt,
Please
no
do.
doubt. You're gonna have to
Please do.
see his face again and
This has
hear
been
us talk.
this has been fun. This has been so much fun. Seriously. Thank you for
Good,
having
good.
me.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you guys want to know more about Mike and all that he has to offer the world, because man, he has a lot to offer us, it's to keep on thinking. Go check him out. I have his website, I have his picture, just right there under it. Just click to find all the access that you can find of Mike so that you can continue on thinking. With that being said,